There are plenty of powerful gods in the world of fiction, and these gods are some of the strongest we've seen in video games and comic books. In the world of video games, Kratos is one of the strongest fictional gods and is known for slaying gods from different pantheons. Meanwhile, Darkseid is a new god in the world of DC and is known for being one of the strongest beings in his fictional universe. So, in a fight between Kratos and Darkseid, who would win? Darkseid will always win in a fight against Kratos because he is simply stronger, smarter, more powerful, and more durable than the Ghost of Sparta. The only advantage that Kratos has is his superior fighting skills. However, other than that, Darkseid is superior to him in any other area that matters. It might be true that Kratos is known for being a godslayer, but he hasn't faced a god that's on the level of Darkseid, who is incredibly powerful and is so much stronger than most of the other characters in DC. Of course, we also know that Darkseid has always been one of the major threats to the universe. So, with that said, let's look at this fictional fight between Kratos and Darkseid.
Before we move on, this is your host Shah and you are watching Comicverse Unleashed, where I post all kinds of comic videos and shorts daily, so you definitely gotta subscribe.
Darkseid, strength. In the world of DC, there aren't a lot of characters that could say that they are as strong as Superman, but Darkseid is one of them. There are even instances when Darkseid is stronger than Superman, as several members of the Justice League need to fight him so that they can have a chance to defeat him. In that regard, if Superman is capable of lifting up to 2 billion tons, Darkseid could also do the same and even more than what Superman is capable of. That means that his strength is quite possibly limitless. The thing here is that Kratos is incredibly strong and is capable of lifting titans and giants alike, but Darkseid's strength is planetary in terms of its level, as he could overpower Superman, whose strength allows him to push planets. Darkseid, powers and abilities. Darkseid is a new god in the world of DC, and that means that he himself is also a god. But the truth is that the Darkseid that we often see in DC is simply an avatar of the true Darkseid that exists in the DC multiverse, as this being is the very embodiment of evil in DC. This Darkseid is empowered by the Omega effect, which allows Darkseid to produce attacks that he could use to kill any character in the DC universe. And we know for a fact that he often uses his Omega beams, which are powerful enough to burn to ash regular superheroes and knock Superman out. Kratos doesn't have a lot of powers at his disposal, as he often relies on the power of his weapons. On the other hand, Darkseid is as true a god as any god can be, as his level is actually cosmic and universal in terms of how powerful he is. Darkseid, durability. One of the things that Darkseid is also known for is the fact that he could withstand the attacks of some of the strongest beings in the DC universe. He is often at the other end of Superman's powerful attacks, but he doesn't seem to be too damaged by the Man of Steel's powerful punches. On top of that, Darkseid was also able to go toe-to-toe with the Anti-Monitor, who is one of the most powerful DC entities of all time. And the fact that he is nigh invulnerable is the reason why he can withstand some of the most powerful attacks that any DC character has to offer. Darkseid, speed. Darkseid, despite his huge frame and his general dislike for combat, is actually incredibly fast and is just about as fast as Superman himself. This means that he could keep up with the Man of Steel, who can almost match the Flash in terms of speed. As such, Darkseid is a fearsome beast that isn't only strong, but is also incredibly fast as well. In fact, in his battle with Zeus in the comics, Wonder Woman states that she has never seen a battle wherein both characters move incredibly fast. Kratos is fast and has quick reflexes, but Darkseid is almost as fast as a speedster. That means that he can move faster than Kratos could blink. Of course, this gives him the edge in this fictional battle. Darkseid. Fighting skills. Darkseid generally dislikes combat, as he often sends out his henchmen to fight on his behalf. But the thing is that he is also an expert combatant that could actually go toe-to-toe with Superman, who is a well-trained fighter himself. However, Darkseid, due to the fact that he doesn't always fight isn't as skilled as the likes of Wonder Woman in terms of his combat skills. Still, whenever he wants to fight, he can actually put on a good show. Kratos, strength. There are a lot of powerful gods in the world of God of War, but the one thing that we know is that Kratos seems to be at the top in terms of his strength, as there are only a few entities that could match his power. Kratos is immensely strong and is capable of carrying some of the heaviest objects in the game, including gigantic boulders, trees, and even titans. He could overpower beings that are exponentially larger than him, as his strength is beyond imagination. And Kratos, in his angriest state, is extremely powerful to the point that hardly any god could match his strength. Kratos, powers and abilities. Kratos, as a god, is actually quite powerful, even if he is almost always seen as a simple brute. On top of his godly physique, he has the ability to use the powers of the weapons that he uses, and we've seen that a lot of times in the entire God of War video game franchise. In the past, Kratos was even able to shapeshift to assume a gigantic form. There was also a point in time when he could absorb different energy sources to strengthen himself. Kratos, durability. If there's one thing that Kratos does better than beating people up, it's surviving some of the strongest attacks in the world of God of War. Kratos is probably more durable than he is powerful, and we've seen his durability and resiliency a lot of times in the video game franchise, when he could take powerful attacks from gods such as Thor square on the chin, and could even survive getting stabbed by large swords. Kratos is also capable of healing himself rather quickly, and that allows him to survive getting brutalized by his opponents time and time again. Kratos, speed. Kratos was never the fastest god, but he actually has strong muscles that allow him to move fast and swiftly to react to his opponent's movements and even attack before they could even react. He was able to keep up with the speeds of gods like Zeus and Hermes, even though he may not be incredibly fast. Meanwhile, in the fight against Magni, Kratos used his superior speed to defeat an opponent that could actually match his own strength. In that regard, despite the fact that some characters are almost as strong as Kratos, they aren't as fast. Kratos, fighting skills. Another one of the things that make Kratos so fearsome is his fighting ability. Trained as a Spartan warrior ever since he was young, Kratos rose up to become the best fighter among the Spartans, well before he became the god of war. As such, he is a master of many different forms of combat and the use of various weapons. He can defeat opponents with or without a weapon in his hands, and he can even use his superior grappling skills to his advantage when facing a god that is almost as strong as he is. This is the only area where Kratos has the advantage over Darkseid, as he is by far the superior combatant. That's because he was always one of the greatest Spartan soldiers in history and used his training to defeat gods and monsters alike. Kratos versus Darkseid. Who wins? Kratos may be powerful enough to slay gods on Earth and is one of the strongest entities in the world of God of War. But Darkseid is more than just a god, as he is a cosmic entity that is multiversal whenever he is in his true form. In that regard, Darkseid is leagues ahead of Kratos in strength, powers, speed, and durability. The only area where Kratos has the advantage over Darkseid is his combat ability, but we aren't even sure if that matters in a fight against someone like Darkseid, whose power is almost immeasurable.